When was the last time you looked in the mirror and actually saw yourself? Not your face, not your flaws, not the tired eyes or the messy hair. I'm asking about something deeper, something most people avoid. There is a version of you inside that mirror that you've been running from for years. A truth that keeps calling your name every morning and every night. But you silence it because it's uncomfortable, because it demands growth, because it exposes everything you've been pretending not to see. Today, I'm going to take you into that truth, into the quantum reality where the mirror becomes more than glass. It becomes a gateway, a teacher, a witness, and a warning. What you see in the mirror is not just a reflection, it is the frequency of who you truly are and the frequency of who you are meant to become. And the moment you stop running, the moment you finally face it, your entire life begins to change. 1. The mirror never lies, but you do. Every single day you wake up and start telling yourself stories, and most of the time, those stories are not the truth. They are the versions of reality you create to avoid facing what you don't want to feel. You convince yourself that you're fine even when a part of you is quietly falling apart inside. You act like nothing bothers you even when something is eating you from within. You pretend you're strong while ignoring the battles you keep losing silently. You tell yourself you'll fix your life soon, you'll change one day, you'll stop repeating the same mistakes when the time is right, even though deep down you know you've been stuck in the same emotional loop for months or even years. These stories are your shield, your escape, your comfortable lie. But the mirror does not participate in this performance. The mirror does not buy your excuses, it does not accept your fake smiles, and it does not soften the truth. When you stand in front of it, even for just a few seconds, the mirror reflects something much deeper than your face. It reflects the vibration you are carrying, the energy you have been living with, the emotional weight you've been pretending isn't there. It shows the exhaustion behind your eyes, the heaviness behind your thoughts, the disappointment you try to bury, and the frustration you don't speak about. You may hide your truth from people, you may hide it from your friends, your family, your surroundings, and even from your own conscious mind. But the mirror sees the parts of you that you try to silence. It sees the pain you haven't healed. It sees the dreams you've abandoned. It sees the promises you've broken to yourself. It sees everything you think no one notices. And the most painful part is not the flaws or the mistakes. The most painful part is what the mirror shows you about your potential. The version of you that could have existed if you stopped avoiding your truth. It reveals the strength you keep burying under excuses. It shows the discipline you could have built if you stopped negotiating with your laziness. It exposes the greatness you keep postponing every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow." It reveals the life you could have lived if you stopped settling for the one you're just surviving in. You do not fear your weaknesses the way you think you do. Weakness is familiar. Weakness is comfortable. Weakness asks for nothing. What you truly fear is your power. Because stepping into your power demands responsibility, honesty, effort, and sacrifice. You fear the version of yourself that would rise if you finally admitted the truth you've been avoiding. You fear the transformation that would happen if you stopped running from yourself. Because the moment you stop lying to yourself, the moment you truly see what the mirror shows you, there is no going back. You either grow or you stay broken. 2. The version of you inside the mirror is the one waiting to rise. There are always two versions of you living inside the same body, and the mirror is the only place where they both appear together. One version is the person you are today, shaped by your habits, your fears, your routines, the people you've listened to, and the choices you've made again and again. This version carries your insecurities, your doubts, your procrastination, and the emotional scars you pretend don't affect you anymore. This is the version that wakes up tired, overthinks small things, repeats old mistakes, and falls back into the same familiar cycles. It's comfortable because it's predictable. It's safe because it requires no courage. And it's the version most people live as for their entire life. But when you stand in front of the mirror, even quietly, even for a moment, the other version appears. The version that is buried under hesitation, fear, and old memories. This version is stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more focused, and more aligned with who you were meant to become. This version carries the dreams you abandoned, the confidence you lost, and the power you never learned to use. It is the version of you that is not shaped by trauma, but shaped by truth. Not shaped by fear, but shaped by potential. Not shaped by your past, but shaped by who you could be if you began living with intention. Quantum reality teaches that the observer shapes the outcome. In simple words, what you choose to focus on becomes your reality. If you constantly look at yourself and see failure, your mind will behave like a failure. If you see someone who can't change, your brain will work hard to prove you right. If you see someone who is small, insignificant, unworthy, or powerless, your actions will match that identity. You will walk like it, speak like it, think like it, and eventually become it. But if you stand in front of that mirror and finally acknowledge the stronger version of yourself, the one you keep hiding, the one you keep delaying, the one waiting for permission to rise, everything changes. Your brain reorganizes itself. Your nervous system shifts. Your beliefs begin to rewrite the story you live in, because you cannot become someone you cannot see, and you cannot rise into a version of yourself you constantly ignore. The mirror reveals which identity you have been feeding every day. Are you feeding the version of yourself that survives, avoids, hides, and stays comfortable? Or are you feeding the version that wants to grow, evolve, and break the limits you've been living under for years? One version will keep you stuck forever. The other will build a life you once thought was impossible. The truth is simple. Inside the mirror is the version of you that is waiting, silently, patiently, hoping that one day you will stop doubting, stop delaying, and stop running, so it can finally rise and lead your life. And the moment you choose that version, your entire reality starts shifting around you. 3. Your reflection reveals the weight you haven't released. When you stand in front of the mirror and truly look into your own eyes, something strange happens. Not the normal glance you give yourself when you're rushing, not the quick check before leaving the house, but when you actually pause and look, really look, for 10 uninterrupted seconds. Those 10 seconds feel different. They feel heavier. They make you uncomfortable. Something rises inside you, as if the silence of the mirror wakes up feelings you've been trying to bury. You may not have words for it, but you can feel it. A tightness in the chest, a drop in your stomach, a slight pressure behind your eyes, or an emotion you thought you got over long ago suddenly resurfacing. That is not weakness, that is emotional weight. Emotional weight is not always loud. It doesn't always show up as crying or breaking down. Sometimes emotional weight hides inside your daily life, disguised as overthinking, quick irritation, fear of change, lack of motivation, or the constant feeling that something is wrong, but you can't explain what. You carry memories you never healed from, disappointments you never accepted, stress you never processed, guilt you never forgave yourself for, and heartbreak you never truly released. This weight adds up over time, slowly, silently, layer by layer, until your energy feels heavy and your mind feels tired even when nothing obvious is happening. The mirror exposes this weight because your reflection cannot lie about what your energy is carrying. You may act normal in front of people. You may keep yourself busy so you don't have to think. You may distract yourself with noise, entertainment, work, or routine just so you don't have to feel. But the moment you face your reflection, every emotion you've been suppressing begins to surface because the mirror forces you to meet yourself without filters, without avoidance, without escape. Some people avoid mirrors for this exact reason. They may not say it out loud, but they feel something uncomfortable every time they look longer than a second. It's not about their appearance. It's about the feeling that the mirror sees too much. The mirror has a way of opening the parts of you that you try to keep shut. It reflects the exhaustion you've been ignoring. It reveals the sadness you've been pretending you moved past. It confronts you with the truth that you're still hurt over things you never healed from, and it reminds you that no matter how far you run, you always carry yourself with you. Quantum psychology says suppressed emotions don't disappear. They stay in your energy field and shape your behavior, your decisions, your mood, your relationships, and your future. The mirror is simply the place where that emotional field becomes visible. It shows the tightness around your eyes, the heaviness in your expression, the tension in your shoulders, or the lack of spark you once had. It reflects the invisible burdens you have been pretending not to notice. And here's the important part. Whatever you refuse to face will control you. The weight you don't release becomes the wall that blocks your growth. The pain you don't acknowledge becomes the pattern you repeat. The guilt you don't forgive becomes the voice that keeps telling you you're not enough. But whatever you confront, whatever you finally allow yourself to feel, loses its power over you. The mirror is not trying to hurt you by showing you this weight. It is trying to free you. It is calling you to acknowledge the emotions you've been running from so you can stop carrying them like chains. Your reflection isn't a reminder of what's wrong with you. It's a reminder of what you need to release to become who you are meant to be. When you finally admit the weight you're carrying, the healing begins, and once the healing begins, your entire reality begins to shift, because a lighter heart always creates a lighter life. 4. The mirror shows you who you become when no one is watching. There is a version of you that the world sees, the one you show to friends, family, social media, strangers, everyone. That version is polished. That version is controlled. That version is edited according to what people expect from you. But there is another version that only appears when you are alone, when the noise of the world fades, when the masks fall off, and when you're standing in front of the mirror with no audience to impress and no role to play. This is the version the mirror shows you, the unfiltered you, the raw you, the real you. And facing this version can feel uncomfortable because it exposes the truth of who you are becoming, not who you claim to be. When no one is watching, the mirror reflects your true discipline. Anyone can talk about goals, but the mirror shows whether you are actually living them. It shows the tiredness from sleeping late because you procrastinated again. It shows the heaviness in your eyes from staying up scrolling instead of doing something meaningful. It shows the tension in your face from pretending you're okay when you've been carrying emotional pressure for too long. It shows the stress lines from avoiding the decisions you know you need to make. It shows the truth behind the life you've been living quietly. People often say, "I'll change when I feel motivated," but the mirror knows the truth. Change only happens when you confront who you've become in private. The mirror doesn't care about your words, your intentions, or the excuses you repeat to yourself. It only reflects your reality, whether you're growing or shrinking, whether you're evolving or repeating, whether you're moving forward or standing still. The mirror reveals your habits, the real ones, not the ones you talk about. No one sees how you behave when you're alone, but your reflection does. It sees if you're taking care of yourself or neglecting yourself. It sees if you're building discipline or letting distractions control you. It sees if you're respecting your mind or poisoning it with thoughts you refuse to let go of. It sees the truth of your character in the silence where your actions have no audience. And in this silence, the mirror asks you a question without using words. Are you living as the person you said you wanted to become? Most people avoid this question because it makes them uncomfortable. It forces them to confront the distance between who they are and who they want to be. It forces them to acknowledge that their life hasn't changed because they haven't changed. The mirror becomes a form of truth they don't want to face, so they avoid looking too long, hoping their problems will disappear if they don't acknowledge them. But the truth doesn't disappear. It waits. Quantum reality says that your internal state creates your external world. The mirror reveals this internal state clearly. It shows patterns you've been repeating, emotions you've been suppressing, dreams you've been delaying, and habits you've been feeding. It shows whether you're aligned with your purpose or drifting away from it. When you look into the mirror without running, without pretending, without rushing, when you stand still and face yourself, you see both your flaws and your possibilities. You see the pain you're carrying, but you also see the strength that's buried under that pain. You see the mistakes you've made, but you also see the power to rewrite your future. You see the fear in your eyes, but you also see the courage that has been quietly waiting for you to take the first step. The mirror becomes a silent teacher. It teaches you honesty, responsibility, awareness, and self-connection. It teaches you that real growth doesn't happen when others are watching. It happens in the invisible moments when you face yourself and decide to rise. It teaches you that the person you are when you are completely alone is the person who determines your destiny. There is no hiding in front of a mirror. It sees the truth you bury, the feelings you avoid, the habits you deny, and the potential you keep ignoring. But it doesn't show these things to shame you. It shows them so you can wake up to the reality that you are not stuck. You are simply not facing the truth of who you've become. When you finally stand in front of the mirror without fear, without excuses, without running, that is the moment transformation begins. Because the first step to becoming the best version of yourself is being honest about the version you've been living as. 5. The mirror reflects your energy, not your excuses. You can wake up every morning and tell yourself 1,000 stories. You can plan a new routine. You can write goals in a notebook. You can promise yourself you'll change. This time, you can speak confidently about discipline, success, growth, and transformation. You can even convince people around you that you're working on yourself, but the mirror doesn't reflect any of that. It doesn't show your words. It doesn't show your plans. It doesn't show your excuses. The mirror reflects only one thing: your energy, the truth of how you are actually living. Your energy is the sum of your habits, your thoughts, your actions, and your inner dialogue. If you've been living lazily, avoiding responsibilities, repeating the same destructive patterns, ignoring your growth, or escaping your own potential, the mirror shows it instantly. It shows the tiredness that comes from staying up late, doing nothing meaningful. It shows the dullness in your eyes from avoiding your purpose. It shows the heaviness that comes from being disconnected from yourself. You may tell the world you're fine, but your reflection exposes what your energy has been holding on to. If you wake up every day with excuses, the mirror shows the weight of those excuses in your posture, in your expression, in your lack of spark. You can say you'll change tomorrow, but your reflection shows you whether that change is real or just another delay. You can say you're motivated, but your energy reveals if you've actually done anything about it. You can talk about your dreams for hours, but the mirror shows whether you have taken even a single step toward them. When you avoid challenges, the mirror shows fear in your eyes. When you let your emotions control you, it shows the internal chaos you try to hide. When you constantly postpone your responsibilities, the mirror reveals the fatigue that comes from carrying the weight of unfinished tasks. And when you quit on yourself, when you break your own promises, the mirror shows the disappointment you don't admit out loud. There is a certain look in the eyes of someone who knows they have abandoned their own potential. The mirror catches it immediately. But the opposite is also true. When you start practicing discipline, even quietly, even imperfectly, the mirror reflects it. You begin to see a kind of sharpness in your eyes, a clarity that comes from living with intention. When you push yourself to grow, your posture subtly changes. When you start choosing your purpose over your comfort, there is a different energy in your face, something lighter, something stronger. When you begin keeping promises to yourself, waking up earlier, working on your goals, healing old wounds, controlling your impulses, breaking old habits, your reflection changes long before your life does. The mirror becomes a visual record of your evolution. It reflects your resilience, your focus, your improvement. Even if no one notices, the mirror does. And what's powerful is that you can't fake this. You cannot pretend to be disciplined in front of a mirror. You cannot pretend to be confident or mentally strong. The mirror shows exactly what you truly are, not what you pretend to be, because your energy doesn't lie. Quantum reality says your energy field is more honest than your mind. Your mind can create excuses, but your energy always reveals the truth. This is why two people with the same appearance can look completely different in a mirror. One looks alive, the other looks drained. One looks open, the other looks closed. One looks ready, the other looks lost. The difference isn't the face, it's the vibration behind the face. Your reflection is a direct reflection of your inner world. If you don't like what you see, it is not a sign to hide or break yourself down. It is a sign that something inside needs attention, a habit to change, a thought to release, a wound to heal, a boundary to set, a dream to pursue. The mirror is not judging you. It is guiding you toward the version of yourself you were always capable of becoming. People often say, "I know what I need to do. I'm just not doing it." The mirror responds, "Then your life will stay exactly the same." Your excuses may comfort you, but they cannot transform you. Your reflection shows the price of every excuse you've used and every opportunity you've ignored. But the moment you start choosing action over distraction, consistency over comfort, truth over denial, the mirror becomes your proof. You begin to see changes before the world sees them. You begin to see the warrior emerging from the inside. You begin to see a version of yourself that looks determined, focused, and alive. And once you see that version appear, even for a moment, something inside you refuses to go back. The mirror shows the truth, not the story you tell yourself about who you want to be. And the day your reflection finally matches your potential is the day you become unstoppable. 6. What you see in the mirror shapes your reality. Every human being walks through life believing they are looking at the world, but quantum reality reveals something far deeper. You are not just looking at the world, you are creating it from within. Your beliefs shape your choices. Your choices shape your behaviors. Your behaviors shape your patterns, and your patterns shape your destiny. And one of the strongest sources of these beliefs is how you see yourself every time you stand in front of a mirror. The mirror does not only reflect your physical body, it reflects the story you believe about yourself. If you stand in front of the mirror and see someone who is weak, someone who always fails, someone who is unlucky, someone who has no discipline, someone who is undeserving, someone who is stuck, then your brain reorganizes your entire reality around that belief. It adjusts your decisions, your confidence, your actions, your expectations, and even your opportunities to match the identity you have accepted. Your mind will move you toward experiences that confirm the story you see in the mirror, even if that story destroys your life slowly. People underestimate how powerful self-perception is. Your reflection becomes the blueprint for how you walk into the world. If you see a defeated person in the mirror, you will subconsciously behave like someone who is supposed to lose. If you see someone incapable, you will choose actions that keep you incapable. If you see someone without potential, you will stop showing up for your own growth. Your reality bends to match how you see yourself. Quantum physics calls this observation collapse. The moment you observe something, you define its form. In simple words, the moment you observe yourself, you are choosing who you will become. You choose with your belief. You choose with your attitude. You choose with your self-image. This is why two people with the same talent, same age, same resources, same environment, and same opportunities can have completely different lives. One sees themselves as capable, the other sees themselves as nothing. The first becomes something great. The second stays trapped in the mirror they refuse to change. When you look into your reflection, you are not just seeing who you are. You are programming who you will be tomorrow. Everything you see becomes a command to your subconscious mind. This is who I am. This is how I think. This is how I live. And your subconscious listens. It listens with complete obedience. It shapes your emotions, decisions, behaviors, and reactions based on the identity you feed it. If you see someone small, your life shrinks. If you see someone broken, your situations break. If you see someone powerless, your world becomes a place where you always lose. But if you see someone capable, your life rises. If you see someone worthy, your experiences begin to reflect worthiness. If you see someone powerful, opportunities start gravitating toward you. If you see someone evolving, life begins to open in ways you couldn't imagine. The mirror becomes the doorway between your old reality and the one you are trying to enter. It becomes the ritual where you choose which version of yourself you will empower. And most people do not realize they are making this choice every single morning without speaking a word. When you look at yourself with disappointment, the universe reflects that disappointment back at you. When you look at yourself with hope, the universe responds with opportunities. When you look at yourself with strength, life tests you less because you no longer carry the energy of weakness. When you look at yourself with confidence, people begin treating you with more respect, not because they suddenly changed, but because you changed the way you show up. Every day, your reflection becomes a silent affirmation. Your energy becomes a silent command. Your self-image becomes a silent magnet, and your life bends around that magnetic field. If you see fear in the mirror, you will move through the world cautiously, expecting danger. If you see insecurity, you will attract relationships that confirm your insecurity. If you see anger, you will walk into experiences that fuel that anger. If you see helplessness, you will avoid challenges that could change your situation. But if one day you choose to walk to the mirror and look at yourself differently, not with self-judgment, not with regret, not with shame, but with the courage to see possibility, everything begins to shift. That shift may be small at first. A different thought, a different tone, a different posture, a different belief. But that small shift becomes a crack in your old identity. And once a crack appears, the old version of you begins to fall apart. You cannot change your life while seeing the same version of yourself in the mirror. Transformation doesn't start with a decision or a plan. It starts with a new self-image, an inner picture of who you are becoming. Once that image changes, your brain rewires itself, your habits recalibrate, your fears weaken, your confidence rises, and your reality starts adjusting itself to match the new identity you have chosen. The mirror is more powerful than you think. It is not just showing you who you are. It is showing you who you're becoming, whether intentionally or accidentally. And the day you start looking into that mirror and seeing someone worthy, someone strong, someone disciplined, someone capable, someone destined for more, that is the day your entire life begins to align with a new destiny. You are not trapped. You are just seeing yourself through the wrong lens. Change what you see, and your world will change with it. 7. The mirror shows you the one enemy you must defeat, your old self. Throughout your life, you've been taught to believe that your problems come from the outside. You think your enemy is the person who doubted you, the one who betrayed you, the one who disappointed you, or the one who didn't support you. You think your enemy is your environment, your circumstances, your past, your upbringing, your luck. But the mirror reveals a truth far more uncomfortable, yet far more liberating. Your greatest enemy has always been the old version of you. The version you created through fear, through habits, through avoidance, through survival, through pain. The version that lives in your mind long after the world has moved on. The version that whispers in your ear every time you try to rise. The old you is the one who hesitates when an opportunity arrives. The old you is the one who stops trying after one failure. The old you is the one who overthinks instead of taking action. The old you is the one who chooses comfort over growth. The old you is the one who keeps you stuck in cycles that you've outgrown but still cling to because they feel familiar. The mirror shows this version clearly. You see it in your posture, in your eyes, in the heaviness of your energy. You see the habits that built the old you, the late nights, the mental clutter, the excuses, the emotional baggage, the fear of responsibility, the fear of success, the fear of change. You see the consequences of the decisions you've made without thinking, the moments you ran instead of faced the truth, the times you chose distractions instead of development. But the mirror also reveals something deeper. It reveals that this old version of you is not evil. It is simply outdated. It is the version that helped you survive, when you didn't know any better. It protected you when you were hurt. It kept you safe when you were insecure. It shielded you when you didn't have strength. But now, it is the same version that is stopping you from rising. And the biggest battle you will ever fight is the battle between who you were and who you are trying to become. People often think their life isn't changing because life is unfair. But the mirror shows the real reason. Your old self is still in control. That old voice inside your head still influences your decisions. That old belief still limits your potential. That old fear still dictates your behavior. That old pattern still drags you back the moment you try to grow. The mirror exposes that internal war, the war between evolution and repetition. Every time you try to change, your old self tries to convince you to stay the same. It reminds you of your past mistakes to keep you afraid. It makes you question your worth, so you don't take risks. It triggers old emotions, so you remain stuck in old identities. It pushes you back into familiar pain because it doesn't trust unfamiliar growth. Your old self wants safety, not transformation. But the mirror also reflects the new you, the version that is emerging, fighting, learning, and growing even when no one notices. This version is not loud yet. It is quiet. It is subtle. It is like a spark trying to become a flame, a voice trying to become strength, a seed trying to break through the soil. When you look deeply into your reflection, you can feel it. The desire to rise, the desire to change, the desire to stop living the same year again and again. Quantum reality teaches that two identities cannot exist in power at the same time. You cannot become the new you while feeding the old one. You cannot create a new future while living inside your past beliefs. You cannot expect transformation without letting go of the version that has been holding you back. If you want to evolve, one identity must die. And the mirror is where this death begins. Not a physical death, but the death of old patterns, old thinking, old fears, old reactions, old stories. This is why looking into the mirror is so uncomfortable. It shows you the truth that you've been delaying. The old version of you is no longer serving you, and you must outgrow it if you want to live the life you secretly dream of. The mirror shows you the parts that must be shed, the excuses, the fear, the pain, the bad habits, the emotional attachments, the self-doubt, the negative mindset. It shows you the chains you keep dragging, even though you have the strength to break them. And here is the powerful part. The moment you decide to stop feeding the old version of yourself, the mirror begins showing a new reflection, a stronger posture, a clearer look, a lighter energy, a more determined expression, a version of you that is no longer afraid to make mistakes, no longer afraid to start again, no longer afraid to step into the unknown. One day, and this day comes for everyone who chooses themselves, you will look into the mirror and realize that the old you is gone. The excuses no longer feel comfortable. The procrastination no longer feels normal. The fear no longer controls you. The doubts no longer sound convincing. The pain no longer defines you. The old identity no longer fits you. You will look into your reflection and see someone you never imagined you could become. Not perfect, but powerful. Not finished, but rising. Not fearless, but determined. And on that day, you will understand the truth the mirror has been trying to tell you all along. Your greatest enemy was never outside. It was the old self inside. And once you defeat that version, even slightly, even slowly, your entire life begins to transform. 8. The mirror is not your enemy. It is your awakening. Most people look at the mirror as something ordinary, a piece of glass, a daily necessity, a tool for appearance. But in truth, the mirror has always been one of the most powerful spiritual teachers you will ever meet. It is the one place in your entire life where you cannot pretend, cannot perform, cannot hide, and cannot escape who you truly are. Yet, instead of using the mirror as a guide, many people treat it like a threat. They avoid looking too long because the mirror reveals the truth they are afraid to face. But the mirror is not your enemy. It is your awakening. Every time you look at your reflection, you are being pulled into a conversation with the deepest layers of your being, a conversation you've been postponing for years. The mirror has no intention of exposing your flaws or breaking your spirit. Its only purpose is to wake you up from the sleep you've been living in, the sleep of old habits, old beliefs, old identities, and old pain. When you stand in front of the mirror, you are meeting yourself in the present moment, not the person you were yesterday, not the person you pretend to be in front of others, not the person your past forced you to become, but the person you are right now. In this moment, the mirror gives you the rare ability to see the gap between who you are and who you can be. It shows your unexpressed potential. It shows the strength you keep forgetting. It shows the future you could step into if you stopped living according to your old patterns. The mirror also reveals something most people never think about. Your reflection carries the story of your inner world. Every emotion you suppress, every thought you repeat, every fear you nourish, every dream you delay, all of it becomes visible in your reflection. Not because you look different, but because energy always reveals itself before the physical world does. A person may smile, but the mirror sees sadness. A person may act confident, but the mirror sees insecurity. A person may pretend to be calm, but the mirror sees the storm inside. The mirror does not judge any of this. It simply reflects the truth so you can finally begin the process of healing. And here is the part that takes people years to understand. The mirror is not showing you your failures. It is showing you your early stages of transformation. It is showing you the emotional wounds that need care. It is showing you the habits that need to be replaced. It is showing you the fears that need to be faced. It is showing you the strength that needs to be awakened. It is showing you the version of you that you are meant to grow out of, and the version you are meant to grow into. Everything you want, purpose, confidence, clarity, discipline, peace, success, alignment, begins with self-awareness. And self-awareness begins with the willingness to see yourself clearly. The mirror guides you into that clarity, if you allow it. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" the mirror invites you to ask, "What is ready to change within me?" Instead of feeling defeated, the mirror asks you to feel responsible. Instead of running, the mirror calls you to confront. Instead of staying small, the mirror asks you to expand. Quantum reality teaches that your external world changes the moment your internal identity shifts, and that shift often begins with a single moment of honesty in front of your reflection. The moment you say, "I can no longer live like this," or "I deserve a better version of myself," or "I am ready to rise now." This moment becomes the catalyst for transformation. It is the moment you stop waiting for a perfect time. It is the moment you stop blaming the past. It is the moment you stop shrinking to fit your old identity. This is the moment when the mirror stops reflecting who you were and begins reflecting who you are becoming. The mirror shows you your past, but it also reveals the door to your future. It shows you your wounds, but it also reveals your capacity to heal. It shows you your mistakes, but it also reveals your potential to grow. It shows you your fears, but it also reveals your inner power. It shows you your weaknesses, but it also reveals the strength that has always been waiting beneath them. One day, and this day will come if you keep walking your path, you will look at your reflection and feel something shift. You will see a new calmness in your eyes, a new confidence in your posture, a new clarity in your expression, a new energy in your presence. You will feel the weight that once held you down has finally loosened its grip. You will feel that you are no longer the person who was running from themselves. You will feel that the mirror is no longer confronting you. It is confirming you, confirming that you have grown, confirming that you have healed, confirming that you have evolved, confirming that you have stepped into the version of yourself you always knew existed somewhere inside. The mirror didn't judge you, it didn't shame you, it didn't break you, it awakened you. And once you awaken, there is no returning to who you used to be. There is only rising, expanding, stepping into your true identity, the identity your mirror recognized long before you did. At the end of the day, everything you've been searching for, clarity, purpose, direction, strength, confidence, healing, transformation, has been quietly waiting inside the reflection you walk past every single morning. The mirror was never just a piece of glass. It was a doorway, a silent companion, a witness to your growth and a reminder of your truth. It has watched you break, rebuild, run, return, fall, rise, repeat cycles, escape yourself, confront yourself, and slowly evolve into someone stronger than the person you were yesterday. Every time you stood in front of the mirror, you were given a chance to face the reality of your life without filters, without illusions, without the stories you tell the world to protect yourself. The mirror showed you the lies you repeat to hide your pain, the weight you've been carrying without acknowledging, the habits that have shaped your identity, the fears that keep you trapped, and the strengths you didn't even realize were growing quietly inside you. The mirror held two versions of you at the same time, the one shaped by your past and the one waiting to be born from your potential. Every look, every glance, every moment of honesty brought these two versions into the same space, giving you the opportunity to choose which one you will empower. And whether you realize it or not, you've been making that choice every single day. The truth is simple, yet terrifying. You cannot hide from yourself forever. You can distract yourself, entertain yourself, numb yourself, busy yourself, bury yourself in noise, but the mirror always brings you back to the truth. And the truth is this: you were meant to grow beyond the person you have been. The universe did not create you to repeat the same year over and over. It did not shape your mind with potential just so you could waste it. It did not place dreams in your heart for no reason. It did not give you strength just so you could pretend to be weak. Everything you desire is waiting behind the moment you decide to stop running from yourself, the moment you accept your truth instead of avoiding it, the moment you choose the version of yourself that is trying to rise instead of the one trying to keep you small, the moment you allow the mirror to become your guide instead of your enemy. One day, and it may be soon, you will stand in front of your reflection and something inside you will shift. You will see the fire returning to your eyes. You will see clarity forming where confusion used to live. You will see a calmness replacing the chaos. You will see a strength that was once buried under excuses. You will see a version of yourself that looks alive, aligned, grounded, and ready. Ready to stop repeating your past, ready to step into your potential, ready to live with intention instead of hesitation, ready to become the person you once thought you could only imagine. That moment will not be accidental. It will be the result of every truth you finally faced, every pattern you broke, every fear you confronted, and every old version of yourself that you chose to leave behind. And when that day comes, the mirror will show you something you've never seen before. Not a reflection, but a revelation of who you truly are and who you were meant to be all along. You are not unfinished. You are unfolding. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not lost. You are awakening. And the mirror has been guiding you toward that awakening since the beginning. Stop running from your reflection. Stand in front of it with courage. Look into it with honesty. Rise through it with intention. Because the mirror is not showing you your limits. It is showing you your future. And that future begins the moment you decide to meet yourself fully. The mirror has already revealed the truth. Now it's your turn to live it.